Hi and welcome to the next part, modes. Okay, so we looked at scale shape 1 and I guess so the next place is obviously scale shape 2. So scale shape 1 was based around your G-shaped bar chord, so we're now going to move up to the next bar chord in G major. So this is going to be formed around a minor bar chord. Just one little thing in case you're getting confused. I finger my bar chords slightly differently to most people. Most people have their little finger fingering the note on the D string. I have them the other way around. It's just something that, as I learnt them, it's just something that worked better for me, but don't get confused by it. Okay, so our first point of reference is the bar chord. So we're going to build up from our points of reference. So, okay, so our second point of reference is going to be a minor 7th chord, because we know that's there. So what I'm doing is I'm lifting my finger from the D string, and so this note is being added into the equation. And if I wanted to add the 7th interval higher up, I could go on the B string on the 8th fret. I've got that chord. So we'd expect all of these notes to be found within our scale shape. So our first scalar point of reference is, okay, we're going to look at the pentatonic scale again. And then quite simply what we're going to do, so we've got 5 notes there. The Dorian mode has 7 notes in it. We're just going to literally add 2 notes in different positions to this scale. So I'm just going to play the pentatonic again, so this is my point of reference. So okay, I'm going to work systematically up the strings. So I'm going to start on the 5th fret, and we're going to add our first extra note. So that is going to be the 7th fret here, then the 8th fret. So the interval we're adding is a second. So the next string hasn't changed at all. We're just doing the 5th fret and the 7th fret. No changes there. Now this is where we add our extra notes, and basically the extra notes we're adding are going to be here and here, and then I'm going to jump up and here and here. So it's like we're filling in the gaps or adding little bits to drop into here. So far we have 5, 7, 8, have 5 and 7, and then we're going to drop back to the 4th, the 5th, the 7th, the 4th, the 5th, the 7th, the 5th, the 7th, the 8th, the 5th, the 7th, the 8th. Now these top 2 strings, you've got 2 ways you could finger it. You could, that's fine, but my preference, because I'm into, I grew up in the 80s, and people like Yngwie Malmsteen and Michael Schenker were fairly big in my world as a teenager. And if you look at them, they always use combinations of 3 fingers, like this, or combinations of 1st, 2nd and 4th fingers. Especially Yngwie Malmsteen, you very rarely see him use a combination using his 4th and his 3rd finger. And so that's kind of stuck with me. So I'm just going to go through the scale again and just pay attention to my fingers. So first, so I'm going to name the intervals this time as I do it rather than the fret numbers. So I've got the 1st, the 2nd, a flattened 3rd, a 4th, a 5th, a 6th, a flattened 7th, and then we're back to the octave. And I'm going to start again. 1st, 2nd, flattened 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, flattened 7th, octave. And if I add my extra notes, that's going to be a second and a flattened third. Now as I descend the scale, my little finger is going to come down on the G string, and then I'm going to use my third finger to go up on the A string. So basically the easiest way to see this scale shape is just literally a pentatonic, but you've got 2 extra notes there and you've got 2 extra notes there. And it's as simple as that. You don't need to make it more complicated than that. Okay, so again, if I wanted to find my minor F shape, it's there. My minor chord, my minor bar chord. So again, you should spend some time finding those shapes in there, and then the next thing to do is to go back to our original finger exercise. So I've got our 3-finger combination there. Just 2 notes there. Then we have a combination of first, second and fourth. Same combination again. Then we shift over to this string, and the combination I'm going to be using is my first, second and third finger. But if you wanted to, you could do your 3rd finger and 4th finger. So if we go back to our 2 string patterns, what we can see is, we can see these 2 string patterns in the first exercise video are there again. So if we're on the D string and the G string, I'm playing the 4th fret, the 5th fret and the 7th fret, 4th, 5th, 7th. And again, I can break this scale down into this fragment. And then I can do the same on the top 2 strings. I'm playing the 5th fret, the 7th fret and the 8th fret, 5th, 7th, 8th. So I love this shape because it's got a really nice symmetry to it when you're playing through it. Especially on the top 4 strings. So if you spend some time just playing, literally breaking it down into these two exercises, once you start going through the scale shape, suddenly you start playing the bigger shape, suddenly it's going to be so much easier. So I would spend some time doing this and then trying to glue the whole thing together. So there you go. So that's so by breaking it apart and then putting it back together again, suddenly it should become more playable. And then relating it to the pentatonic, and then you can see what's going on. You're going, well, it's just a pentatonic, but it's just got those 2 notes there. So again, this is a really useful approach when improvising, and this applies to any of the minor modes. Is you can start your improvisation by focusing on the pentatonic scale, and then bringing in the extra flavour notes, as I call them. I call them flavour notes. They're the notes that give the flavour of the scale. And the notes that give the flavour of the scale in this instance is the second and the sixth notes. So I'm going to start with the pentatonic. So I can see I can easily slide back. So if I'm in a pentatonic kind of hand position, the easy way to get those extra notes is just slide back one fret or slide back one fret there. And then suddenly you've got those extra notes to access. So that's a really easy way of getting it up and running. And again, this idea that we looked at, try improvising in fragments of two strings. So, and again, that's a really easy way to get into it. Start with your pentatonic as you improvise and then start bringing in the extra notes. Now, two little tips when improvising. This is crying out to be bent just up one fret. And that to me sounds a really hillagey kind of bend. So, and that's basically what makes up the sound of the Dorian mode. So again, so play it in octaves. And break it down into fragments. Now, for me, again, the Dorian mode is probably one of the most useful modes, and I can think of several examples in when you're playing blues and jazz. That kind of mode is used all the time. A really famous solo in the Dorian mode, I'd say, is "Light My Fire" by the Doors, and it does this lovely little vamp going from A minor to B minor. Or here. And the opening scale is just pure Dorian. And also what you can do is you can bring in your blues scale and your minor pentatonic, and that's basically the approach that Robbie Krieger takes in that scale, and the opening bars are just pure Dorian. Great stuff. Another one is "So What" by Miles Davis. So again, he brings in this note here. So the note that makes the Dorian sound and gives it its character is this sixth here. It's the sixth sound. That is the sound that really gives it. So if you want to imply a Dorian sound, just head for that note. And another and it's not just found in jazz and blues, it's also found in modal folk music. And the most famous song I can think that's written by in using the Dorian mode is Scarborough Fair. And here's the modal note. So a really useful exercise is just learn that shape and then just try and find something like the Scarborough Fair melody in that shape. And you'll see once it goes to the phrase parsley rose, da, da, and it's there. Parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. That's it. And that's the basic. Those are the basic. Again, for me, it's very useful to have songs that I can relate the sound to. So, so if I'm thinking Dorian mode, I'm thinking Miles Davis, So What? The Doors, Light My Fire, or Scarborough Fair. And again, it just helps me remember the mode so much better than it just being this technical thing. But this one is a lovely shape. It's not anything to be intimidated by. It's just simply a pentatonic with just a couple of extra notes glued to it. So have fun with that one, and I'll see you in the next one.